Hi everybody, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, Norwegian Cruise Line seems to be doing a huge shift in the way they're delivering cruises, especially to the Caribbean. We'll talk about that. We have the investigators have gone on the Coral Adventurer finally. I have a lot of questions about that. We have huge lineups at airports that are causing some people to absolutely miss their trips and miss their cruises. We have Port Everglades is about to set a record amount of passengers here in 2025. And to help things off, they're welcoming a whole bunch of new ships. So first off, investigators have finally boarded the Coral Adventurer, the ship that left the 80-year-old woman behind on her first stop on a hiking trip that was an escorted hiking trip. And I have some questions about it because it's been 10 days now since that event happened. And now the passengers were all flown home on the weekend. So what kind of an investigation are you going to be doing if you're already 10 days behind the actual event for people's memories, and now the passengers aren't even there? The people who might have been on the hiking excursion with her and might have some more clarity and information to give, now you'll have to do it by investigating by phone? How did it take so long to get investigators onto this cruise ship when it looks like it's a possibility of a clear negligent act by the cruise ship crew? Leaving a passenger behind, that's an automatic, how did that happen? Where's the loophole? That should never happen kind of thing. And to get on board 10 days later and now they're just going to be interviewing crew members? I don't know. I guess they'll call them up on the phone, and I guess that's an investigation. Let me know what you guys think. 10 days and plus waiting to interview passengers on board? Kind of crazy to me. Next, let's talk about Port Everglades. Port Everglades, some of you may know it as the Fort Lauderdale Cruise Port, if you don't know its actual title. Well, they are about to break an all-time record with 4.7 million passengers sailing from that port alone. And then you go over to Miami and there's another big cruise port there, and you go down to Orlando, there's another big, just think of how many millions and millions of passengers are sailing out of Florida every single year. Well, they're doing so well, and now they're welcoming 3 new cruise ships. They're getting the Disney Destiny. They are about to receive the Celebrity XL for her first sailing, and then very shortly the Star Princess, the newest princess cruise ship, will be sailing out of there as well. And I'm kind of glad this story came up because I was looking at booking the Celebrity XL and I thought it was sailing out of Miami. And it's not. It's sailing out of Fort Lauderdale. So it's a good mental note for myself. Pay a little more attention to them. Not that it makes a big difference. They're side by side. An Uber ride, you get there. But it was kind of funny because I was looking at it, planning different stops and different trips, trying to link up my cruises. And for some reason, when I was searching Miami, this cruise came up. And it turned out it's leaving from Fort Lauderdale. But if you are sailing out of Fort Lauderdale this Friday, be prepared because they're saying there could be a huge delay and parking and traffic problems because they're full. They have 7 huge ships in that day, and there could be long lineups this Friday to get in there. So just a heads up. And speaking of long lines, with the government shutdown still ongoing, we're approaching the longest shutdown in U.S. history of the government. We have TSA agents who are not being paid, and now some of them are just walking off the job or calling in sick, and you kind of can't blame somebody. Why would you go to work every day and not get paid. Well, they get paid at some point. Are you sure? How long is this going on? Imagine if you were being paid, and all of a sudden your entire salary is gone for 8 weeks. Are you living paycheck to paycheck like a lot of people are? Do you have mortgages to pay? Do you have, kids going back to school right now? Did you have all that expense to pay? It's not a fun experience. Trust me, no one likes to have no money coming in under any circumstances, but it's causing some huge lineups like the one that just happened at the Houston airport, where lines took hours upon hours to get through. My niece and nephew, Paul and Angelina, who works with me, have headed off on their trip and down to LA. They flew into LA and they had an hour-and-a-half layover in Toronto. Normally, no problem. They made their flight by about 5 minutes before the flight took off. You have to really schedule your time around your airlines right now because it could take a long, long time to get through the TSA customs, no matter where the trouble is it's going from day to day, right? It's happening one day, it's big, huge, long lineups. The next day it's perfectly clear. Then another city is affected. And then you never know where it's going to hit. And so you have to plan in advance just in case. And I'm getting many, many reports of people arriving late for their cruise or missing their cruise altogether. Just a heads up. If you're sailing while the government's shut down and you have to fly, leave early. Leave as early as possible, especially if you have a connection. Okay, let's talk about NCL. And NCL is starting to do what Carnival has done for a long time, and then Royal Caribbean has just recently announced that they're going to do. They're heading to more shorter sailings. That's right. They want to increase their short sailings. They say they see a strong demand for it, probably because the price of a longer cruise is much more expensive than the price of a 3 or a 4 day cruise, or at least you can hide it. If you add the two together, it probably ends up to more than the 7 day cruise would be, but it's easier to see it in smaller chunks. Well, if you're saving 40%. Oh, okay. So they say they're attracting more families and more first-time cruisers to this, and that might be completely true. However, it leaves those people who want the regular, normal week or longer cruises a little bit out in the dark. But they're going to be raising, in the first quarter alone from next year, 2026, about to start, they say their short sailings will increase by 40% over this year. 40% increase in short sailings almost immediately. And this seems to be their goal ongoing, because one of the things they also reported out, by the way, if you're a solo cruiser, they want to get rid of and lower their solo cabin capacity. That's right. They want to bring that down. They want to do these shorter cruises, and they want to put 2 people in there to spend more money on their ships. So all those solo cabins on these ships that used to be one of the huge selling points of being able to go on an NCL cruise, you might start to see during dry dock them minimizing that a little bit, or the new ships coming out just might not have as many as was originally planned. Let me know in the comments down below. What do you think? Do you think that's a good move by NCL? Do you think it's the way everyone seems to be going, except maybe the premium lines that are still doing the longer sailings? Because they usually tend to go with a clientele that's willing to spend more money, right? You don't usually go on a Celebrity or a Princess or a Cunard cruise for a short cruise. Let me know in the comments down below, and until next time, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Until next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.